Okay, and just that recording reminded me too, Frank, I will start working on dumping old videos from YouTube and uploading the new ones. So I'll probably work on that tomorrow as well. So, because they're, I think from what we saw, like August, the latest ones haven't go in there. So I'll look at the previous 2 years and the ones that really didn't get much looks, I'll pull those off and then start adding some of the new ones and then make sure every couple months clear some of the old out so we can get the new in. So
Okay,
get that
thanks,
started.
Nick.
No problem. So we were asked to do, I'm going through the email. So we're going to do Copper Johns later. Fun fly. It's a good attractor fly for me that I use, and it's heavily weighted so it drops down quick under an indicator. And if I have a trailing fly after that, this kind of grabs the attention, and then the little scud afterward is what they usually nail. So it's a fun fly. There's different ways of doing it, and I kind of had that in the email. I was going to do the rubber leg one version today, but I just kind of went with a, we'll call it a Christmas Copper John, which I'll show you soon. So there were materials in there, and again with all the flies for all the new guys, it's a list of things that you could use, but substitutions are fine. You do everything you want. I've actually saw a couple neat because they actually just call for a bead-headed nymph hook, but if you use a curved scud hook, they look cool too. So it's anything you want to do, colors and materials. Again, that's the fun of fly tying, is you get to do what you want to do. You don't have to have the materials, and that's what Jim was even stating last week. So again, MDC winter trout programs going on. I don't think many of us are going to be going out this week with temperatures going down into single digits for highs, but it's still there if you guys want to go. So probably most of us won't be doing any fishing this week, and then we got Christmas on Sunday. So the week after that, I was still thinking about Suisun Park, the 27th, 28th, or 29th. That's still going to be hit or miss. We'll see, because we do have one person that wants to go out there and they're in a wheelchair, and so we'll see. I'll give them a call and give everyone's a heads up on what we're going to do. 26th would be the next Zoom call. That's the day after Christmas. I will be on Zoom if you guys want to get on. Again, this is the day after the holidays. If you're busy, don't worry. But if somebody wants to hop on to just kind of talk, and we'll, have some fun, it's an hour. So we'll still have a Zoom call next week, and then hopefully I'll have more information on the 27th, 20th, or 29th. But if I could get something sooner, I'll let you guys know. So yes, I missed the Jinglefish. My little puppers was sick, so we didn't get to go. I did talk to someone who found out, unfortunately, they only had 5 people show up because of the temperatures and everything. So shame, because fishing's been really good at Bennett. So rod build, we are going to be doing it in February. I do have to still get the kits, Jim. I probably might do that this week. I will make sure I got all the kits going, and if I need help, Jim, I'll give you a call. But we should have enough rods and kits to do everything. I will be sending out an invite first. I will actually make sure I look at I want to keep it down to like 6 for our first go. And try to get those that are on our participant list that I see often. So, I see Frank and Scott and Lee. John, are you a volunteer or a participant? I can't even remember. Either way, though, I'll look through and
Sure.
Which John, Mick?
Loss.
Oh,
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're.
Well, Frank's a participant.
Frank's a participant. That's why I said Frank, Scott, and Lee. And I couldn't remember if John's a volunteer or participant. I'll have to look. If you never built one, we'll get you one. So
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So I want to keep the class kind of small, see who we have, ensure that the participants that we see most often get the first crack at it, because we do need a commitment of, we would like to see you every weekend for it, but depending on what's going on, we'll work with you, and sometimes you just miss a day. I'd say the first week and the last week are crucial. The second and third week is basically a whole lot of homework for you, and just kind of double checking to see if you have any questions on putting the wraps on the guide. So again, where we will be building in February, I talked to Ken. It looks like we should be able to get that church. So those of you who remember the last time we did this in 2020, it'll be at that location.
Nice. That's such a good facility.
Yeah. And it's not bad. I'll just, we'll be there, and soon we'll still try to find a permanent location for meeting in person. But to get into that, we're still doing the Daniel Boone Branch St. Louis County Library. The next one will be January 7th from 3 to 5. We couldn't get the early one, so that's a little bit later in the day. So we'll meet there. We'll have to figure out what we want to tie. We still have a couple weeks before we get that, but if any of the participants have a fly that they'd like to learn, let us know. We'll schedule that, and then I can get the materials we need. We do have John Wright on from Omaha. They have Zoom calls every Thursday, about the same time we have it. For his Zoom call info is out on the web. I've been going to those. They're a lot of fun. Kind of neat to see other people tie and see what they're doing and seeing what other programs are doing. So by all means, you guys are all welcome to get on that. If you enjoy this hour on Thursdays, you could hop on for another hour.
Yeah, and Mick, on the rod building, I put a video up on the Flatwater Fly Fishers YouTube channel. If anybody wants to look at it, I call it Class 0. It's how you go ahead, design and plan, and figure out what components you need to build a fly rod with. So if anybody's interested in that, it's public access. So
And
I'll send you the link later tonight.
Okay. Okay, so again, thanks, John, for the invite to join your Zoom calls. Again, I have a lot of materials and stuff in the storage. If you guys need anything and want to come out and see what we have, that's for all of us to use. So if you need something and you want to see what we have, we got it. And most of the materials I'll bring again on our fly tying event on January 7th. But if there's anything you need, I know I got a couple nets and stuff like that. If anyone needs anything, let me know, and then I could see what we have and I could bring it out. So I think that's all for the email. So I think we got everyone hopped on. So I will go to get this turned on, and we will get to the copper jug. So I think this is what we're doing. Oop, wrong one. There we go. So I'm going to spotlight mine so you guys could all see it. So this is the copper john I will be doing. Kind of call it the Christmas. It's I got some green and red wire in there, and I will go through all the different materials now. Get this back to my other camera. Okay, so for hooks, any of the beaded nymph hooks, I got this from Wholesale Fly Company. It's their Model 8. That's just basic size 12. Those of you who went to the library a couple months ago and we did the Christmas tree bug, basic same hooks that I gave you, the size 12 nymph hook. These will work. And if you still have your brass beads, size 1/8 is what I will be using. Let me see, most of the copper johns have just plain copper wire. This is medium, but I actually have, whoops, just lost the red, but I'm okay. I got green and then red just hit the floor, but I've got a piece cut off. So they have different colors, red, black, green. I'll be using the Bennett Blue tinsel that I use on the Bennett Blue Cracklebacks. I will use this for the back for the copper john as well. Thin skin, this is straight black that I'll use the skin for the backing. When I cut that, they will just be little strips like that. So a sheet like this, you could tie 100 flies easy. And all you need is just a little strip off that. They have different colors, but this is just a straight black. The biots, I'm going to use white goose biots, but they come in ginger and black. I think I even have purple. So I get these at Hargroves for $1.20. So these will go a long way for that. The partridge feather, I just got a couple small ones. These will be the legs. I picked this up somewhere for 75 cents. Just a few feathers that make the legs for the copper john. In the description I showed, you could actually use legs if you wanted. I was going to do silly legs, but I think I'm going to just stay with partridge feather on this. But you can use just little centipede legs if you want to use it. So that's the materials, the thread I will be using. I do like that Semperfli Nano Silk, so I will continue to use that. So we will get with this. So let me drop this one out. Thought I had a hook already pulled out, but I don't. So all right, I'm just going to slip the bead onto the hook. Easier said than done. Lock it in the vise. Some room. All right, first thing I'll do is I'll put my thread wrap down. This just gives me a good bed to wrap everything on. That way material doesn't want to slip on the metal shank. So I'll just take this back. Takes me a little bit because the nano silk is very thin diameter but small, but allows me to put a lot of wraps on without building up a lot of body. So I'll take a stop to about the midpoint there. See if I could drop that down a little bit. Sorry, guys. All right. Now I will take my turkey biot and pull a couple off. And when you've got these, they kind of curve off. So I will try to show you right there. You want to pinch them together, but where they kind of make a V. And so we will put that on the hook that way. Just kind of, again, put it in here. Just pinch the two together. Could manipulate them a little bit if you want still. Cut the little tags off. Get that in. Just gotta adjust it so it looks good. Right now it's looks good with just my eyes, but with the camera, it's really does a good zoom on it. So you're like, oh, I don't know if I like it, but it looks good.
Hey Mick,
Sir,
have you ever put like a little ball or bead in at the end of your hook there to help spread those biots a little?
you know what? That's a good, you can do that. I've actually seen that now that you said it. I will probably do that next time. You know, I just kind of manipulate it a little bit, but I do like that idea.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think it helps helps out a lot. So just
Yeah.
a little trick.
Yep, I agree. And I'm even wondering if I could, while we're just kind of talking, see if I could do a little wrap to help pull those out, maybe. Oop. I think I better stop. So yeah, we'll just keep that. I do like that idea and I've seen it. And what he was saying, you just put a little thread dam there. So when you kind of put it there, it will spread out. You would actually got bodkin right there. So basically what he's talking about is right there. So you put a thread dam there and you just kind of make it so it splays out a little bit. So that is a good idea to do that. And thank you for bringing that up. So now I'm going to add the copper wire. I do like medium on this. You could go smaller if you go with a smaller hook size. Doing this in 12, which is a little bit big, but it looks good. It's good for the demo. I'm just wrapping it in. Taking it to the end. Okay. These guys know I like to put a little half hitch in here, which is my save button. Now with this, it doesn't matter if you go what color first. It's you just want to make sure once you've started it, you keep with that wrap. I don't know if red or green would do good, but it looks good for Christmas time. So, fun little Christmas fly right now. Gonna bring that back. Gonna lock that material in. Any questions so far? When you,
Looking good.
cool. When you do, you could helicopter the wire, which I've never had much luck with. If you use scissors like I'm doing, try to have a separate scissors that you use only for your wires because they will dull out real quick. All right, now comes on loading up a bunch of material for the very top. So first thing I will do is put in the blue tinsel. Wrap that in. I will now do the thin skin. Do remember now that I forgot to mention peacock curl, which I didn't show you, but you guys could see the bag. Let me show you real quick. Again, I got this for $350. I don't know where, but peacock curl. You could use chenille if you want, but I really do like peacock curl for the fact that it's got that green iridescent that I really like, you know, what to call it, buggy. And I do pull out several strands of this. I'm gonna actually use 4 when I do this to make it a little bit thicker. And I will cut the edges off. Oops, sorry. Too many cameras. All right, now I'm going to tie in peacock curl. Quick half hitch. Bring this out a little bit so you can see what I'm going to do with the peacock curl is spin the strands together to make a little cord out of it. Just get it to where I know it looks. Oop, lost that one strand, but that's okay. Oops. We're still good. Just locking this in. Okay, so there we got the peacock curl in. I'll bring this in a little bit tighter again. Let's see if I could get that. Let's drop it a little low. Sorry, guys. You guys seasick yet? All right, I've completely lost it. People on camera are gonna be like, well, what is he doing? All right, now we're back. So now I need to get the legs in. And just taking that and splaying it out. You can see there. I just got a little bit of the legs here. So now just gonna pinch them in. It gets a little crazy for me, but when I kind of use my fingers to splay it out, and then once I put down the thin skin, I get it all to lay down the way I want it. So there we go, that looks better. Just gonna tighten that thin skin in. Oops, wanted to break, but I will use the tinsel next. There we go. I will do a quick little. See. Let's see if I can get that. Trim that a little bit better. Now I will whip finish. Oop. Now cut that. Sorry again for the camera keeps on slipping. So now I will use the UV glue to kind of cover the top.
If I shine my light from here, it should get to yours, right?
Yep. And I've got, I think I gave you a smaller one, right? Or no, I have a smaller one if you need it. And so I put the first coat on it. And I do a second just to kind of build up that area.
So Sally Hansen would take too long to dry.
Yeah, it would. And you know, with this, it's already dry.
Right.
So there you go.
So what makes you prefer Sally Hansen over UV glue?
Sally Hansen, I usually use that as a thread lock. So when I'm going to do the whip finish, I kind of use that. But if I want something to set up right away, the Sally Hansen is like an instant dry. And so it just depends on what I'm going to do. If sometimes when I do my nymphs, you know, the thread jigs, what I will do, I have one here available real quick. Let me do that. If I'm not really, if I'm tying a bunch, basically at times I will use the Sally Hansen's. And if I want to harden that up, I'll do the Sally Hansen's because that thread eats that up real quick. And then within a minute or two, that's a thread jig that will last forever unless you break the actual hook. But with the thread, it soaks up real quick and it's almost, I could kind of touch it already. And if I just want to put that off to the side and do a bunch, I could do several that way. So again, let me get this one back. So that's the one I tied just now. I tried a couple others. Let me see. This is one that I tried to use the squirmy or the little rubber legs, but I ended up breaking off one of the wings. But you can use rubber legs if you want. If you don't have the goose biot, that's something you can do. Now let me see some of the others. I think here I used the ginger biot, and that one's been legs are kind of crushed. If someone's really, really, really good at this, this is the, I bought this one. This one wasn't mine, but I was using it as an example. This is one that I bought, and so I kind of use that as a pattern. So neat little fly, and this one's probably a size 16 maybe. So you could, I would say this would be about the smallest I would attempt with a copper john, because with my thumb there, that's still really tiny, and trying to get those copper wraps, that would be extra small copper wire there. So any questions on that?
Yeah, Mick, I tie mine down to a size 18, but that's
There you
about as small as I get.
Yeah, that's getting small, you know, and they work, you know, like when I say I use this as an attractor, so here's a size 12 that I do, but usually what I do is I tie a unweighted scud underneath it. I actually had a couple of those.
Yeah, I usually fish single fly rigs, so and we use 16s and 18s up on the verdigris because those fish take the small bugs.
Yep. And I thought I had some of my smaller ones that I attach. I don't see them. But yeah, I use this to help drop it down. And then the unweighted scuds are nice because they're the small size, they look like it, and they have uh, less weight. So they actually kind of do toss and turn with the current and the movement of the water, which is a lot natural as well. And so,
But I tell you, when you start tying these guys down into a size 18s and 16s, you've really got to be conscious of how many wraps of thread you're putting on just after the bead. You know, when you start tying in the wings and the peacock herl and all the rest of the stuff, you start getting way too much bulk if you're not careful.
yep. And I'm going to change my view real quick so I could show you the thread I use, and it really helps out on that. I don't know if you could see the Semperfly Nano Silk. This is 18-aught. I mean, you could barely see the thread there. I mean, it's really hard to build up any material on it, but I could almost spin deer here with it. It's GSP, so it's that ground spun polypropylene. So even going back,
Can you flatten that stuff, Mick?
what's that? I mean, you can see even with my zoom on this thing.
Yeah, you can't even see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a better zoom real quick. Hang out with me. So, yeah, I mean, the thread is right behind it and right there on top. You could barely see this, but I could spin deer hair with this. So that's why I like it. It's on the little bit expensive side, but if you want to tie something like this and you're afraid of, putting so many wraps that you're building up material, this stuff is really good.
Yeah, I try to use 8-aught Danville thread, and that works okay, but it's so easy to break.
Yep, this is 18-aught and strong enough that I could easily spin deer hair with it. So I like the stuff. You do need some really good scissors on it, and I've tried to flatten this out, but it's so small. I don't even know if I'm flattening it out or it's staying corded. It's that small. But it's what I like. Everyone has their favorite stuff, but I usually always have that spooled up.
I put a question out in the chat. Why didn't you peel the paper off the back of your shell back?
I did actually. The
Okay.
black. Here is the back side of the shell back. So when I did put it on, when you do it, you only get.
Okay, you must have done it off camera. I didn't see it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, it's not glue or anything. It's not sticky for those who ever tried. So it's not glue. It just kind of holds the material in. But yeah, you do pull the back and it's just a plastic. There's no glue, so it's not sticky, but
Yeah.
you keep that in there. And so
I don't know what it's there for. I have no idea unless it's to keep it from sticking to itself.
yeah. So again, fun little fly. Again, a lot goes on with that. So it's fun if you want to do it. If you're looking for something to just kind of drop, John, when you were tying last Thursday, remember I kind of showed you this little thing that I do, and there's lead wrap under that, and that's a quick fly I could do later for someone that's variegated marabou feather with variegated chenille with lead under there. This actually is what I caught that 3 or 4 pounder off at Bennett, was something similar to this. And so it kind of will drop your unweighted scud if you use it as a tag along, but this actually was catching too. So a whole lot easier. So maybe I'll tie this up next week while we're just kind of talking. So again, have fun while you're tying flies. Any questions?
Very nice.
Let me get back to the integrated.
So I usually can do a pretty decent one until I get to the thin skin. That thin skin is always, it breaks on me or whatever, pulls loose often on me. So I've started tying it even without that, but I will use like a piece of that tinsel like you did.
Yes.
And use that in place of the thin skin. And that seems to worked better from a material perspective for me.
Yes, I would say I do like thin skin. I use it on, first time I was using scuds. I usually don't use it on scuds anymore. I just use that Shetland yarn for my scuds. But, and I did it with that thread I was using, this Semperfly. Like I said, you could, it's small diameter, it's like 18/0, but I could do deer hair with it. And when I did the tie today, I don't know if you saw it, I pulled too hard on it and actually cut through the thin skin.
thin skin,
You have to be careful when you do that. So it's nice where you could yank on it, but with the thin diameter of that thread, be careful because you will cut through materials. But if you're trying to tie something where, you know, you're going to have a lot of wraps, but you're afraid of building up material, that's a really good thread.
Yeah, Mick, I don't even use thin skin anymore. I use the tinsel like you do, but it goes on first.
Mhm.
Then I use clear plastic over the top of that. That lets that tinsel kind of shine through really, really nice and give it a sparkle effect.
Yeah.
I have to put the UV on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a little flash. That's why I like the UV, or, you know, the Mylar, fun little thing to add to it. So,
You know, Mick, the other thing that kind of popped in my head while you're putting that peacock curl on is, have you guys ever used like or made brushes?
like, something that I kind of did with
No,
Velcro.
no, it's actually a way that you can twist different materials and you actually kind of the way you did your peacock curl, but you build a brush with it, and then you wrap that instead of using dubbing or whatever, and it creates a nice.
Yeah, Kevin, I have done that before. But for when you get down into the 16s and 18s, the brushes get just
Can't
a little
use
bit
that.
too big.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
what I
it would
do,
work better for streamers or
Yeah.
for some of the warm water.
yeah, what I've found I like to do is with these smaller flies is wrap the peacock curl around my tying thread.
Yeah.
Kind of a real nice brush kind of effect, and it gives it a little more strength.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that would work, especially peacock curl. If you've owned it for a while, it will dry out and it becomes real brittle.
Brittle.
So yeah, I do kind of, that would be kind of good too, is to, once you have your peacock curl, put a couple wraps of your thread around it to kind of make sure it doesn't break. And it locks in. If should you have a tooth break, at least it'll get a little buggy looking, but it won't totally unravel on you. No, that's all I got. Jim, I see that you're tying. You got anything going or just tying along?
He's muted.
Yeah, I thought.
Sorry about that.
No
Yeah, I'm
worries.
just tying foam beetles.
Okay.
So I know you guys were tying them recently. Is this basically what you were doing?
Yeah, and I'm gonna actually spotlight you because yours looks nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's real pretty. That works really good. You could even ask Lee. Lee would probably ask you to make a dozen of those for him.
I was just thinking about that when we're out at Bennett, how when we changed to it, it was easier to catch them for a good little while.
Yeah. And it's this kind of off season, this catch and release, the fish really don't get pressured much. So you get to try a bunch of things. And it was actually fun. I was probably catching just as many on top as I was under an indicator. So that looks really good, Jim. That would be
What I do now,
perfect.
Jim, what I do now with my foam beetles is I'll put some what am I trying to say? Hackle around the center of it before I bring the foam forward. And that gives me just a little bit more floatant, and I don't need to put those rear legs on it.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quick tie. I could tie one up between now and the end of class if you want. You want me to do that?
Yeah, go for it. You've got the camera set up.
Yeah, everything's set up.
Go for it.
So I just use a I think this is about a size 10 dry fly hook. And let's see, already pinched the barb down, so just going to put the dry fly hook in there. For material, I use, for the body, underbody, I use sparkle braid, kind of in a green or peacock or black color. I use foam strips cut about maybe 1/4 inch wide. And for, it's like basically an indicator, I will use a contrasting foam on it. And black rubber legs. So I just will start the thread as usual near the center of the hook. And then I take the foam and I cut a V in the tip. Just use that for a tie-in point. And I'll put it on top of the hook. And I kind of press it down over the hook itself. And then start tying and try to hold it in place because it has a tendency to want to just travel right around the hook. So try my best to hold it in place. Get that all tied down. Tie in a piece of the sparkle braid. And again, you could use anything. I used to dub different types of like ice chenille and stuff like that. But you know what? This is just for bluegill. It's easier to put that on than it is to do any dubbing, at least for me.
Jim,
And-
sometimes to try and keep it from spinning, I've just wrapped thread down the shank and back up, and then either UV or a Sally Hansen real quick there. And then it gives a kind of a non-slip surface for tying the rest on.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. So I just bring it up to probably about 2 eye lengths, eye widths from the eye. Clean that up. And sometimes I'll put a glue on here or UV glue or whatever just to help keep this from flopping over a little bit, but I'm not going to bother doing that right now just to save some time. So now I'm pinching the foam over the hook itself, tie in a couple of tight wraps. And again, you want to make sure you don't pull on it too hard because you will cut the foam. Then I'll pull it back, do a couple of wraps, and then a couple of more wraps on the outside and back on the inside. And again, that's all the effort for trying to keep the foam from flip-flopping around. Then I'll take my scissors, I'll lay the scissor right against the eye of the hook and just cut a straight line right across, nothing to it. Then I'll take a contrasting foam and cut a piece, tie that in. And again, this is kind of like a strike indicator. So, you know, instead of being black on the water, you get this bright color. You know, it's on top so the fish can't see it. It's not going to scare them, and you can see the fly a lot better. Then I take the rubber. I've already cut it probably about 1.5 inches long. And I'll take my bodkin and I'll pull out 2 strips at a time. So there's 2 pieces right there. And then 2 pieces right there. I'm going to tie 2 in on my side. and adjust where they land. Then 2 pieces on the other side. Put those in place, do a few more wraps. Do a few more wraps on to make an eye. My fingers are in the way, you can't really see what I'm doing, but it's basically you're just doing this. And this is one of the few flies that I don't mess with a whip finishing tool. I use the back of my bodkin, has this nice little hole in it. That is a half hitch tool. And I'll just take it and I'll do like 5 or 6 half hitches. So you wrap it around the tool once, put the tip of the tool over the eye, and then just bring the thread off. And that's just because that foam, you don't have to fight the foam when you're putting the whip finish on there. Go ahead and cut my thread. Then I'll take my bodkin and I'll separate those 2 pieces of rubber on each side. So now I have 4 legs on each side. And again, I'll take glue or UV glue and I'll spread it around the bottom. I'll put a little bit close to where the rubber legs meet the wrap here. And that's all there is to it. So what did that take? 7 minutes?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah. And you can trim the legs. You can make them longer or shorter, or sometimes, you know, I like to make the ones in the front short and the ones in the back long, but you know, just whatever you like to do. And like I say, I will actually, when I fish it, I'll put a little bit of floating on it, and it floats like a cork. And bluegill, if they're coming to the surface, they will take that so quickly. So
That
that's a
foam
nice
gets
one.
waterlogged, huh?
What's
Yeah, I
that?
have problems with them getting waterlogged too sometimes. Here in
well,
Nebraska, we fish something similar to that called a gurgler. And it's
Yeah, sure.
a killer too. There's 1,000 different variations on these foam beetles.
Yep,
Oh, yeah.
you could use
No,
the
absolutely.
watershed helps with the foam a lot. You just have to put it on 24 hours in advance.
I'll have to look at that.
That helps. Now, again, it will still get all waterlogged, but what I do is when I start seeing it sink, I just kind of bring it in, and then I just kind of give it a little squeeze and get the water out, and then it looks a little bit better. So, but yeah, once Jim started tying that, I had the materials luckily laying around, so I did another one real quick. But yeah, they're fun, and this one I use kind of the same thing. Just do a couple wraps around the eye and call good. But yeah, they're fun. It was like Jim said, quick tie, and I just put a little bit of that Bonnie cord on top to like an indicator so I could see it.
They're fun, they're easy to tie, and they're extraordinarily effective.
Yes, they are. And they're fun. I mean, like you said, you know, even Lee could attest to that, where we were using it and it was just kind of fun to watch the fish come up and nail them. So
The only problem we had was eventually they got kind of heavy with the water. So
yeah, and that's where, you know, even though this is just tied, I just give a little squeeze. You could just squeeze the water out of it, and
yeah, we did a lot of it.
you'll get a couple more drifts out of it, but they do get waterlogged. But I've been trying to do this watershed where basically I just put a couple drops on my finger.
That's why you tie a dozen or two at a time.
Yeah.
that one dry while you're using the other?
Well, this one, watershed, you gotta let dry for 24 hours before you use. So it's not like some of the, was it gink that we use on other things? You do gotta let these dry overnight. But you could even see some of the thread I used was pink. Again, it's kind of an attractor to get them looking at it, because those of you, when we tied these up a couple of weeks ago, I got the cutouts where I showed you my indicator was this color, orange and pink. And the indicator was getting hit. That's why I actually made some of these foam bodies where, again, you could use it as a hopper dropper, put a nymph underneath this. And if they hit the nymph, this is your indicator drop and you set the hook. But there were a couple times that they'll hit this and you get a fish on your indicator. So instead of the times that, oh, I missed a fish on that, you could use that and hook. But I like Jim's looks better than mine. So I like the 8 legs like a spider.
Yeah, now you guys talk about the foam flies getting waterlogged, and I'll admit it soaks up some water, but I've never had a problem with it sinking or anything. It's maybe not sitting on top of the water, but it is sitting in the film of the water.
Yes.
And especially for bluegill. I mean, they are just so unfussy. If they're coming to the surface, I don't think they care whether it's sitting on top of the water or sitting in the film.
Yeah, I don't think the fish mind. Yeah, it's for, I can't see it anymore. It's, just,
Yeah, that's what happens to me too. They usually, after about 30 minutes of fishing with them, and like I say, most of the stuff I do here is in ponds and lakes.
Yeah.
After about 30 minutes, they'll start to ride maybe a half to 3/4 of an inch below the surface, and
Really?
it's actually impossible to see.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever experienced that. Maybe I lose them so fast that that I'm always
That
tying
could-
on a new dry one. I don't know.
You can also check out your foam, because some foam is, closed cell, some's open.
yeah.
As to how much water, if any, it will take. Some foams are, closed cell, and there's just no place for the water to go, so they'll stay like a cork.
Yeah, I've heard that, Roger. I use that the hobby foam that I pick up at Walmart, and I'm sure it's open foam, and it's, that's probably the problem. So,
And Jim, if you lost a lot, I put a bunch in the trees at Bennett. So just look for my guys. They're out there for you. Get off that. Get us back to. All right. So any questions? Jim, thanks for jumping in. Much appreciated.
Not a problem. Piece of cake.
Yep, I do like tying those, and so that's why I was able to jump in right away, because I got the material sitting on the table, and you could try different legs and all that. They're fun and they do work. And so that's why we even did it. I think that was the last we tied at the library, because these are just fun little flies. They work good on trout, they work good on bluegill, and you'll even catch bass with them at times too. So if you really want to target bass, you step up the size, and sometimes we call those chubby Chernobyls. We could try to, maybe we'll do that. I'll do a chubby Chernobyl next week. It is the 26th, so I do know everyone's going to be with family. If you want to jump on, you can. If not, spend time with family. It's that time of year. So, but yeah, that's what I'll do next week.
The only fish I've ever done so far with you, Mick, has been trout. I haven't tried anything else yet.
Yeah, come summertime, we'll make sure we hit. We went to January Wabash. You caught a bass, and I caught bluegill while we were trying for trout, but bluegill are fun. Scott and I were at Bush Wildlife Lake 16 over the summer, and we found Missouri Department of Conservation actually dumps in gravel, like pea gravel, into the water to give them beds. And so before they start really bedding down, we found a nice little spot, and we were just having a blast. It was catch and release. We were, had barbless hooks, so as quick as we had them, we were releasing them. So it's fun. The bluegill are fun. That's where the 5-weight works. But if you're looking in a market like Terry and I have the same setup for a 3-weight, they're fun. You know, that all of a sudden those little bluegill feel like a trout at the end of your line. So, but yep, we're not going to have that warm weather, especially come Thursday, Friday. What you got, Terry?
I wanted to know if anybody had ever looked into a hand line.
Oh, wow.
As a matter of fact, yes,
There
I
you
have.
go.
There you go.
That's one.
Yeah,
Tight.
in fact, I've got one that came from the Nebraska Game and Parks. They gave one to all of us that are in volunteers.
Really?
It's actually castable.
Well, these, I just kind of stumbled onto them, and these, they're just, throw them in your pack or something like that, and
Like a
you have a
survival.
hook or something.
Let me put that back.
Yeah, I carry mine in my glove compartment in my car. So if I ever come across a place, I just pull it out and yeah, that's
Yeah.
like one I've got right there. It's similar to it. Yeah.
It looks like there's a bunch of different kinds. I just wonder if anybody had actually used one, and if so, what kind of success. So it looks like you're doing this, you're throwing it out with your hand, holding the hand line thing, and then throwing out the weighted hook end out, and then you're reeling it back. And I could see that it has its benefits, but I wonder what kind of drawbacks.
The biggest drawback is trying to set the hook because you don't have the leverage. I'm serious.
Yeah.
No, I've used
I
stuff
believe
like
it,
that
yeah.
before.
Another serious drawback is if you get anything large on it and you're using monofilament, and it starts pulling that mono through your fingers, it can hurt real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
this is the perfect, he just served you up a meatball. They knocked it out of the park to say Tenkara. This is, this is,
Well, that's what I was thinking about when I saw it. I thought, hey, we got one up on John's Tenkara,
yeah.
even smaller.
Yeah, because I still plan on getting the Tenkara in the next couple months, where I will keep it in my truck, and if I see something of open water real quick, and I'm waiting on like a doctor's appointment or something, yeah, I'm gonna bring it out. So, yeah, that's in my future to buy one of those. It probably would have been a Christmas present now, but knowing that I might be going to Japan in the next month or two, possibly, I'd like to get one from out there, but if not, I'll still end up with one soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the other thing I carry with me, Mick. Right there. I don't have anything in it right now because I put everything away for the winter, and I'm tying up a whole bunch of flies. But
Yeah.
that's just a little. I pay 95 cents a piece for these, and I bought 100 of them for our vets. And we use these when we're tying. I give them to all the vets, and they can keep their flies in here. So, and I carry 2 or 3 of these with me when I'm out. And I've always got 2 or 3 in the glove box with my Tenkara rod. No matter where I am, I've got flies in a rod. Of course, I've also got a 5-weight in the back of the truck too. So
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I like that box is nice. That's a nice little fly box. I'll have to look.
yeah, I got this from a guy in Japan. I saw it, and he was selling something else, and I saw the box, and I said, "Can I buy just the box?" And he said, "Well, how many do you need?" So I told him, and I got pretty soon. I'm getting customs forms and everything else on these boxes, and they wound up, and like I say, I ordered 100 of them, and they're great. I love them, and my vets love them because they're, when you're in a fly tying class, it's great to have something small, and they can just put their flies that they've tied that day in it and stick it in their pocket, and they're done.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Years ago, I was traveling. I was down in Mexico, down in the Baja in San Felipe, camping out on the beach. And there were kids fishing there, and their rig was an old Coca-Cola bottle. The way the ones that have the
Oh, yeah.
Kind of bulbous, then it comes narrow and then back
Yeah.
out again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
they
they
call that
held-
the Coke bottle shape.
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, they just wrapped their line around the Coke bottle and they held it by the top of the bottle. And no, they were fishing in the ocean, so they had big hooks and heavy weights and stuff like that. But they just took the weights and started whipping them around, and then just threw them out, and it would come off just like a spinning reel.
Mhm.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
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 It worked just fine. They were catching fish.
All you gotta do is find an old style Coke bottle anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure if do they still make those? I don't even
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah, I found them. Yeah, I can tell you some stories about survival training when I was up in the mountains of Washington, fishing streams up there for food and using just monofilament and hooks. You know, the only lure that goes into an Air Force survival kit, anybody know what that is?
No.
Safety pin. What is it?
The Daredevil, the red and white spoon.
Oh,
Oh, really?
okay.
Yeah, that's the only lure that the Air Force ever put in their survival kits.
Those were always fun for northern pike.
Oh yeah, yeah. My dad used to use something called a red-eyed warbler.
Yeah, and I'd also use those when I was younger. I lived in Chicago, and we'd take it down to Lake Michigan, the really heavy weighted ones, big spinning rod and reel, where we'd just wing those things out there and we'd catch cohos all the time.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I have to go. Merry Christmas. Mother's coming home from teaching yoga, and I gotta warm some dinner for her.
Yep, I'll
There
leave
you
you
go.
all go.
Merry Christmas, Terry.
Merry Christmas,
Yeah.
everybody.
Merry
Yeah, Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Try-
Yeah, I
try
gotta
to
go
next
too.
week. So
Yeah, me too. Wife wants bread upstairs.
See you
So
next week.
Christmas, all.
Yeah. So
see you
I'll
guys
be out of
next
town.
week.
I won't be here for
Okay.
a few weeks. So
You guys
I'll
got my
see you when
number.
I get back.
Yep.
Merry
and-
Christmas, Jim.
Yeah,
Yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year too.
Yep.
Thank you.
You guys take care now.
Take care now.